Hey guys, welcome to a very special edition of If You Have to Pick Three. I'm Matt.
And I'm Zach.
And if you haven't joined us for one of these before, what we normally do is we go ahead and we do a topic and then we pick a top three in said topic and then we fight it out to see who gets more in the final top three list.
But not this time. Not this time.
This time, what we are doing is we are going to have a top five list. And there's going to be no argument of what makes the final list because there is no finalist. This is just
our prefers.
Our prefers, our top five lists of the best albums of 2019.
We did it last year too, and I think it's just a lot of fun. And I have a feeling that we're going to have a lot of overlap anyway, like we did last year. Check it out if you haven't. But I recall that last year we both agreed that the new Ghost album, Alice in Chains, and Judas Priest albums were the best, which is already a three right there.
Yep.
I threw some oddballs in there like Panic at the Disco and Churches.
I don't even remember what I did last year.
You did Tremonti.
I believe I did.
And Riverside.
Yes, Riverside.
Why do I know your list and you don't?
Because my memory is shit.
Not to spoil anything, you should still listen to the past episode to hear why we liked it.
Yeah.
But so going to this year,
because you don't know who Riverside is.
I bet you don't. You probably don't.
Probably don't.
But 2019 really was an awesome year. I mean, we saw a lot of artists come back after some, maybe it was years since the last albums, or even just years after they were even together to record anything, kind of coming back and making a big splash again and a big statement as to why they, should still be around. So I thought it was just a really great year for music in general. With that said, Matt, do you want to go first with your five?
Sure. All right. To kick off my top list, we are going to start out with one of the bands who came back in 2019 after years of being off. They came back with a very strong new album, just simply titled Rammstein.
Du hast to listen to this.
Yes. Well, that was really bad, but yes,
it was terrible.
It was a great album, and to hear Rammstein come back in strong fashion with this album, you could really feel like the grittiness on a lot of the tracks. There was some catchy tracks on there. We did a review on it earlier this year, so if you haven't listened to it yet, go listen to the review, listen to the album, because it was a really good one. Number two, this one is going to be a bit of a surprise.
What?
I don't even think me and you have talked about this. I know we didn't review it, but I don't think me and you talked about this at all. One of the biggest surprises over the last couple of years for me has been a band by the name of the Rival Sons.
Oh. Wow.
They are, if you're not familiar with them, they've been around since like 2009, I want to say, but they got a big back catalog, and they're in that new kind of style of going old, if that makes sense, like kind of like the Black Keys, kind of in that same vein, very fuzzy, but they have an amazing way of putting together a song where it sounds very classic, but it's very new. They have great vocals. It's very catchy too in all of their albums as well. There's a lot of soul in there. You can hear it when they start to perform certain songs. Like one of the songs they covered on the last album they did was Ike and Tina Turner's Black Coffee. It was very interesting, like R&B type song to cover, but they covered it and they did it really well. But they came back this year with another album called Feral Roots, and it's such a great album, just from start to finish. It's got some really epic moments on it. The two singles they put out, Do Your Worst and Too Bad, are just amazing tracks. Shooting Stars at the end of the album just kind of really encapsulates this album in a great way. So if you haven't listened to this one, or if you've never heard of the Rival Sons, go do that. The last three albums, Hollow Bones, The Great Western Valkyrie, and then Feral Roots, just really solid albums, and making my list of the year for this year with Feral Roots. So I'm going to throw another album on here that we didn't talk about. I think we briefly talked about it, but it was one that captured me in a way that I don't think any other album this year kind of captured me. It was completely by surprise. So I'm outside and I'm doing a little landscape maintenance, and I decided to put on some music, and I had no idea that this band was going to put out a new album, or if it was even going to be any good. And I threw it on, and I was like, holy shit, where'd this come from? Where's this been over the last couple of years when they've put out albums? And Sum 41.
We briefly talked about this.
We briefly talked about doing a review on it, but we never did. And holy shit, is this a good album? While a lot of bands kind of like Weezer in recent memory, they've been going a little more poppy. And, you know, a lot of the contemporaries that came up with Sum 41, they've been going the pop route. Sum 41 took a step back, did a 180, and went back to their roots. So if you remember on the very first Sum 41 album, they did almost that Judas Priest inspired song Pain for Pleasure, and it was a metal track. I always
love that song.
Oh my God. It was so different than everything else they did on the album. You're like, wow, these guys can really play, and they like metal. So now, I guess because the Sum 41 flame has kind of fanned out a little bit and, you know, kind of died down, they went back to their roots. And Order in Decline is the metal album that you didn't know that you wanted, but got, and were glad that you got it. I mean, there are other albums this year that I could have named instead of this. Like, I could have put the new Korn album on there. The Korn album was good.
Yeah.
But you kind of knew what to expect from Korn.
Yeah.
Like I said, this one surprised me on how much I actually liked it. It was just that good.
Wow.
So Sum 41's Order in Decline. The final two. These two should be no surprise from anybody who's listened to this podcast for any length of time.
I haven't listened to the podcast. What did we choose? What did we review?
What did we review? Well, number one, we reviewed Slipknot's We Are Not Your Kind. This is the, I don't want to say the comeback album, but it's almost like the comeback for Slipknot to something that we all knew that they could do. And they did it. And it was amazing. And it translates well live. And the album is being so well received, they're going to be performing the album in its entirety, rumored, on a future tour. But it's probably going to happen at this point. But this is one of the best of this year. And like I said, just seeing them live doing it, it was so good. Mm-hmm. Finally, if this didn't make the list, I don't know. I don't know what type of list I'm putting together here. And the reason why I put it last is because, well, you always save the best for last. And this album, we weren't sure if we were going to get it. And I remember specifically talking to Zach at the beginning of this year saying, I can't wait for the new album from Tool. He's like, I'll believe it when I see it. Or in
There's
Zach's
still a chance this was a trick.
In Zach's snarky voice.
There's still a chance that this isn't actually an album. It's a trap.
Surprise, because we got the new Tool album, Fear Inoculum. For those of you who criticize how we call things, yes, it's Fear Inoculum. And it was everything that we wanted from a Tool album and more. I thought they were going to maybe kind of stay on the same path that they did with 10,000 Days, but they went back to Lateralis. And I loved Lateralis, one of my favorite albums of all time. And you might have seen us post about my Desert Island album, which is Lateralis from Tool. And it was such a nice treat to get something else in the same vein as that. And we did with this. And then also, as another little spoiler here, Tool actually announced that they might have enough material to do another album. So maybe we could get a companion album to Fear Inoculum.
And it'll only take 5 years for us to finally get it.
Hey, you know what though? That's still that's a longer album cycle, but it's still considerably shorter than between 10,000 Days and Fear Inoculum. But I mean, if you have ears at all and you listen to rock or metal at all, you had to have listened to Fear Inoculum. And this is an easy call for one of the top albums of 2019.
So then before I go into mine, let's recap yours.
All right. So for my top five this year, Rammstein, self-titled, The Rival Sons, Feral Roots, Sum 41, Order in Decline, Slipknot, We're Not Your Kind, and To Fear Inoculum.
All righty.
What say you?
What say me? So let me start off with the records that we've reviewed already. Mainly because instead of I'm going to try to cut back on talking too much about these albums, only because I want you to listen. to what we already talked about. We did a great job reviewing them.
Yeah.
Please show some appreciation and listen to it. So let's start off real quick with two of the albums that you already mentioned. Slipknot's We Are Not Your Kind. It really is such a phenomenal metal record. The whole thing from start to finish is just a great cinematic journey that it's just so good. It's just so good. Like it's both extreme and melodic at the same time. Phenomenal work from Slipknot, and it proves that like they might have some time in between records, but the wait is worth it. It really, really is. Then we have, of course, Tool's Fear Inoculum. I pronounced it correctly. Hooray.
Huzzah.
Huzzah. The album that I thought would never actually exist. It exists, and it was so worth the wait. Honestly, that's all you really need to say. It was just so worth the wait. Third, an album that we also reviewed, The Raconteurs' Helpless Stranger. I think anyone who knows me knows how much I loved Consolers of the Lonely that came out in 2008, how disappointed I was that there was such inactivity from the band for so many years, and how excited I was that after 11 years, they finally got back in the studio and released something, and it really is phenomenal. It reminds you of why you want to hear Jack White and Brandon Benson sing on the same song together. It's just such well-written songs. The production's phenomenal. It's such a great rock record.
And Brendan liked our post.
And he liked our post. So thanks, Brandon. Jack, I don't know what you're doing. Come on, start liking us.
He's busy with Jack Black.
Sure. Yeah, he is busy with Jack Black. So Helpless Stranger, I think if you're a fan of them, even just the song Help Me Stranger is such a great song. Give it a listen. Really great album. Now let's get into some stuff we haven't necessarily talked about. This one, technically we talked about this. I did What's Spinning episode about this album. It is End of Suffering from Frank Carter and the Rattlesnakes. It's probably a band that you might not necessarily know. They're a little bit bigger in the UK, but they're making some strides. So Frank Carter was from the band Gallows. When he left, he started what started off to be a little bit more of a grittier punk band that has slowly evolved into the way I kind of describe it, and I say this with the most love. It's if the Arctic Monkeys had the balls to make a true gritty punk rock album. There's just a British grit to it. Now, their previous album, Modern Ruin, which came out in 2017, personally, I actually like that album a little bit better. It's one of my favorite albums of the year of 2017. I almost put it on my top albums of 2010s, but I know that was more of a personal choice. But End of Suffering, it's a little bit more of a slow burner than the past albums, but Frank Carter has such an amazing, passionate voice. He talks a lot about personal issues with self-doubt, anxiety. He has a lot he talks about a lot of mental illness issues on this album that really can touch close to home for a lot of people. I think the song Anxiety is so beautiful and passionate. Is a great anthem for those who are kind of feeling in the dumps and needed a little reminder, hey, life is worth living. You got this. And then, there's of course the heavier song like Crowbar that's just really awesome. But then even like the more slower songs like Latex Dreams and Little Devil, his voice is phenomenal. It really is a great punk rock band that needs to get more recognition. And when you listen to albums like End of Suffering, you're just so glad that they exist. So definitely that's a band that needs to be on your radar. And then check out the What's Spinning episode that I did where I just highlighted the white vinyl that I got from the album. But really just a cool band.
Was it cool?
It was cool.
Like the other side of the pillow cool?
Yes. Even cooler.
That's the best.
So now my fifth place. Now I'm going to completely be honest. If you ask me again in a month, this might change. Really? Mainly because there's a lot of great albums and I keep going up and down. So I had to go like, nope, this is the one. I was so tempted. There's so many, there really were some great albums. I was so tempted to include Baroness's Gold and Grey album. Phenomenal album. I also did a What's Spinning episode on that. Beautiful cover and everything. And the album's just great. They elevated themselves. I also wanted to do Devin Townsend's Empath, an album that we did a 2 minutes to review episode on that really was phenomenal and just proves that Heavy Devi is just the king. And I was even considering doing Rammstein, but then so I had all these albums. I'm like, all right, what should be the first place? And ultimately, as of right now, of the time that we decided to record this, I chose an album that we did not talk about at all. I'm choosing Bad Religion's Age of Unreason. So they are such a great band, and I literally consider myself to be extremely lucky. So one of the big highlights from 2019 for me was getting to see Bad Religion not once, but twice on the beach at 2 different festivals. I got to see them at Warped Tour Festival in Atlantic City, and I also got to see them at the See Here Now Festival in Asbury Park. They are such a great, fun band, and they're just so tight live. You kind of forget how tight they are until you see them live. They have a new drummer, Jamie Miller, who's in there. I mean, Brooks Rackerman, who left Bad Religion to go join Avenged Sevenfold, he is such an amazing drummer that's hard to top. And Jamie Miller comes in and just really steps up. But then the whole band, they're so tight. And what I love about Age of Unreason is that you can hear how tight they are. It almost, some of the past stuff that they've done, it sounded a little bit like, all right, they're in the studio. It's kind of obvious, but like you can really feel the passion in Greg Graffin's voice on this album. You can hear the liveness of the rhythm and of the groove. And I mean, songs like Do the Paranoid Style just sound awesome. Lose Your Head, it's a little bit more of the slower songs, but still just got a bite to it. It's the bite and grittiness that you want from Bad Religion, but still with the great songwriting. So as of right now, Bad Religion's Age of Unreason beat out a lot of other amazing records. So just to recap real quick, we got Raconteurs' Help a Stranger, Slipknot's We Are Not Your Kind, Tool's Fear Inoculum, Frank Carter and the Rattlesnakes' End of Suffering, and then Bad Religion's Age of Unreason. So that's my 5 list. But I kind of already started to go into this about like the other great albums that came out. I mean, were there any other close? I mean, for me, definitely Baroness's Gold and Gray, and then Devin Townsend's Empath. Are there any other albums that like were so like you want to give it a little shout out?
Empath was definitely there. I feel like this year there was a lot of really good albums, but the ones that I kind of highlighted already in mine, those are it. The Korn album, it was good.
It was good. I think we almost decided to review it.
Right.
I think just timing wise, you're like,
yeah, it was good. It was good. It wasn't, great. I mean, Korn fans are going to be like, "What are you talking about?" I mean, yeah, it was a great of return to form for Korn.
Definitely one of their better albums in many, many years.
It just, it
lacked.
It just didn't get there.
Yeah.
But Empath, I mean, that was just a great cinematic journey, and there were so many really great songs on there. I kind of feel like for that album, the staying power of it for me just didn't, because I feel like all these other ones I hear myself and I've returned to many times over. I haven't really returned to Empath as much as these.
I've returned here and there during the year, but right now I've just been on a Bad Religion kick, and it really edged out Empath by a hot little inch.
Now let me ask this: are there any albums for you that were surprises on kind of the other side, that they were supposed to be good, but they just ended up falling flat?
I mean, I think there's 3 that come to mind immediately. First being, and we've actually reviewed this album already, but Blink-182's 9 album.
Yep.
Honestly, just go ahead and listen to that episode of 2 Minutes to Review to understand why we're so disappointed. I love Opeth. I really do.
Oh.
I also fully admit that I need to give it a better listen. When I say better, I mean I gave it a listen, but I feel something about it. And the last 2 albums that Opeth did were heading in the right direction, but I feel like this last one, they went back 2 steps, and it's really a struggle to listen to it. I've given it so many tries.
We didn't even review it. But honestly, I would give it a 1-word review. Boring.
Just meh.
Just boring. I remember putting it on in my car and being excited about it, and I'm listening to it, and I was wondering where the track separation was, because it sounded like the same song, just very boring throughout. I mean, that's just the word is just boring. Like it sounded like the same song like 5 or 6 times. It's like, are we gonna move on from this? Yes, I know he's not doing the death growl thing anymore, and everybody is like, well, why aren't you? Yes, he's moved on from it. Accept it. It's not gonna happen anymore. However, like you said, the last two, like Pale Communion and Harvest, they were not Harvest. The Devil's
Sorcerer.
Yeah, well, that was okay. Yeah, okay. I was thinking of the one even before that.
No, I'm saying like this new one. It reminds me too much of Harvest, where it's like
Yes.
ugh.
Yeah, no. Harvest was where they started this whole thing, and then they went to Pale Communion, then Sorcerer. The Sorcerer was really good.
It was really good. Pale Communion was really good too. And honestly, if they instead of making Harvest, did the transition first with Pale Communion, I think we all would have been much more happier with their new direction. Just Harvest was so boring, and I keep getting flashbacks with this new album to that. It's just
that was so bad.
I think the other one that was definitely disappointing that we need to address.
If this is where I think you're going, I'm glad I brought this up because
we need to address.
I'm going to have to say a lot more than what we're going to say about just the album. Say it.
Volbeat.
Yes.
Rewind, replay, rebound. So disappointing.
The band on a whole now is disappointing. It
kills me because I love the musicians. Rob Caggiano is one of the best guitar players that no one knows about, or very few people know about.
It could be Caggiano, it could be Caggiano.
Sorry,
Rob.
Either, but like that album is just so disappointing.
Oh, okay.
It's so disappointing.
I know exactly where everything started to go downhill. I love Outlaw Gentlemen and Shady Ladies.
Love that album.
Insanely good album. The moment that they recorded Lola Montez, that is where everything started to go downhill.
I don't even know it's that. It's just the songs on this album. So Seal the Deal and Let's Boogie. There's definitely some filler in that.
They sounded the big hits on there sounded just like Lola Montez.
But you know what? Those songs were good at least. This new album, I'm sorry, but it was just freaking like half-baked, phoned in. I don't know if the band has just been so busy on tour that they forgot to write an album and they had to rush it because they realized, oh crap, it's been a while and we can't do one more tour without supporting a new album. Like, it's just everything in it feels forced and half-baked.
I've never heard a band forget to record a second half of a song.
Yeah.
They recorded half of Pelvis on Fire and then just kind of threw in some riffs at the end. And it was
the fucking Pink Panther theme song, I think, was the guitar.
I think that's what you brought it up.
Like, everything about it just was such a meh. Everything about it, nothing. Like you literally have to believe that they were only in the studio for a week and only had a week to record this. They were like, well, screw it. We'll just do a baby one more time.
And then you brought up
go over a Peaky Blinders theme.
You brought that up when we were seeing them live, and they actually said that.
Here's the Peaky Blinder. I'm like, oh God, they're really just trending on that crap. Ugh. And you look at the cover, and it looks like the kids from Peaky. Like, it's such a disappointing album because that's a band that literally has everything going for them right now to be the next big band.
Right, and they were going down that road because I remember they released, or they were making a big push on YouTube and social media about The Everlasting for a while, which was a good song. It sounded good. But then the rest of the packaging around the entire album, just so bad. And when they released The Last Day Under the Sun, I knew it was going to be a bad album because when the entirety of the chorus of the song is the last day under, the last day under the last day under, the last day under the sun, you ran out of things to write.
It's crazy how there's some songs that are good, but then it's ruined by a chorus. It's like, really, you couldn't take an extra 5 minutes to think of a second verse? Mm-hmm. It kind of reminds me, actually, so a little sidetrack, but I actually think Iron Maiden's album Final Frontier is a pretty good album that doesn't get like that much recognition. And the title track was such a really awesome, catchy song. I mean, a little bit more AC/DC-ish for Iron Maiden, but it was awesome. That ended up getting ruined by, instead of letting it, because they added like a really long ass, boring intro that could have literally been just its own track instead of like on the same, literally like same track that made you wait 2 minutes for the actual song. That already ruined the experience. But then on top of that, the chorus was just the final frontier, the final frontier. Like, you couldn't think of a second verse to add on to that chorus. Like, And it killed me because that was a great song that actually could have been a bigger hit at the time that just kind of fell by the wayside because they just couldn't spend an extra 5 minutes to cut the song, the boring intro, and write a better chorus. That's what this album is. It's just disappointing.
And then
Rewind, replay, rebound.
And then going backwards a little bit to just Volbeat in general, in Belfast, they came on stage, started Pelvis on Fire, stopped it, went off stage, came back on stage, tried to start it again, walked off stage, and they were done. Now, some people are saying that it was technical difficulties. The band is claiming that it was his voice and he couldn't go. But then why? Like, why would you try to start again? I think that there's more to it than what everybody's leading, but I kind of feel like Volbeat is becoming, they believe their own hype.
Which is a shame.
And now they're, kind of being the prima donnas, if you will.
So let's not end on a sad note.
No, let's end on the best.
Was there maybe an album or a band didn't make your top 5 list, but was there a band that really surprised you?
Hands down, Sum 41. Hands down.
But what about a band that didn't make your top 5 list? Was there
that didn't make my top 5 list?
that did not make your top 5 list that still really surprised you and that still kind of made you go, wow, this has something here.
I'm going to have to say Devin Townsend. Because everybody talks about Devin Townsend and everybody has nothing but good things to say about him. I want to say Devin Townsend for the mere fact that this album is something that he put out, and when he put it out, I remember distinctly before doing the review saying that he said it before I could. And he said that this was kind of like him just emptying out everything in his head into an album. And we got some areas of Devin Townsend that we weren't ever going to get again, according to everything that was going on. Being, we weren't going to get anything from Strapping Young Lad ever again. But when we got we got a track on there that was very inspired by Strapping Young Lad. And that has then, I guess, subsequently led to him saying that, yeah, when I go on tour next year, being in 2020, we're going to get some Strapping Young Lad stuff. So I think he's finally overcome and put to rest some of the demons around Strapping Young Lad and is going to, maybe do some more stuff in vain in the future. But this album, and him really just surprised me about making something so complete, something so him, that while it's surprising on how great it is, it's not surprising in the same breath because it's coming from a musical genius.
For me, and this is a band that's been really impressing me for the past 2 years, but I mean, they've become slowly huge critical darlings in general. But there's this band called King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard from Australia. They are such a unique band in that, I mean, last year or the year before, they actually recorded and released 5 albums within a year. And it was impressive because not only, because when people do that, you're like, okay, so how good's going to be the quality? And each album was actually really phenomenal and really interesting. I mean, one album was a lot more Dungeons and Dragons prog rock influence, and then another one was actually more Jethro Tull progressive influence. And they're just a band that you think you're going to get tired of, and then they just find a way to reel you back in. And this year was really no exception in that they released 2 very interesting and very different albums. The first was Fishing for Fishes, which was a lot more of a jam bandish kind of album that was still just fun to listen to, very jazzy, progressive jam band. And then a few months later, they released Infest the Rat's Nest, which was a pure thrash metal album that was very much in the vein of Motorhead and Metallica Kill 'Em All era. That was just, you wouldn't believe. I mean, it was such a really awesome metal album that would make you think it was a completely new, different band. Not the same band that released Fishing for Fishes or Fishing for Fishies. They're such a unique chameleon kind of group that effortlessly change genres without coming off as hokey or without coming off as almost, because sometimes some bands they'll do a metal, what they think is a metal band, and just kind of come off as all right, now you're just making fun of that. It all comes from a genuine place, and it's just a really unique group that finds a way to constantly surprise and interest you. So King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, I feel like that's a band that I kind of discovered before everyone else did. It's like there's probably a lot of hipsters listening right now going, "Oh, you just discovered them?" It's like, yeah, I did, and I'm glad I did. So I think it's a great recap of a whole year.
Yeah.
And here's to many, many more months. Hopefully next year, 2020 presents just as much exciting music and exciting moments as well. Thank you for listening to another year of us two music nerds just jabbering on and on about music as if our opinions matter. Thank you for making them seem important.
Yeah.
Now, we also want to hear from you, though. What was your favorite albums from 2019? Do you think we're crazy for even naming the albums that we did? Let us know on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, at Epic Footnote. We want to hear from you, and we want you to keep listening. So thanks so much. Happy New Year.
Thank you guys so much for listening. I really appreciate it.
And
Happy New Year again.
And we'll talk to you all soon.
All right. Take it easy.